Welcome to Discussions with the Writer Fred right here at Black Video Network in hot San Antonio, Texas. For all my viewers out there, you don't want to be here today. It's already 100 going up to 103. But I'm in the cool studio of Avista Products and having my show today, we're going to talk about black music because June is Black Music Month. And as you all know, music has been very, very important to the black culture, going all the way back to before we even had a culture, to when we first came over here from Africa, and our ancestors used to sing songs of freedom. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land, tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. And then we had gospel with Mahalia Jack. Tommy Dorsey started gospel in Chicago in the 1930s. We have jazz. We have blues. B.B. King, Why I Sing the Blues, was a song about how our condition here in America from the slave ships to today. So music has been very important to our culture. And today I'm fortunate to have with me a gentleman who's been very much involved in black music for very long, Mr. Jay King, who is the lead singer, songwriter, producer for Club Nouveau, and you all remember the song Rumors. I do, for sure. And he's the one who sang that. So, Mr. King, welcome to Discussions with the Writer Fred.
Thank you. But first, let me make a correction.
Yes.
Rumors is a record I produced. Michael Marshall was the singer.
Okay.
So Time Social Club was a group that I produced, and then they signed a deal with someone else, and then I created Club Nouveau for the music that I had written for their album. Okay. And Jealousy was the first single that we released as Club.
Okay. Stand corrected, my friend. Okay. So let's get right into our discussion today. And you're a perfect person to be on my show because you have a history of music. And I'd like to just open up, Mr. King, with the question of how important has music been over the centuries and decades to our culture?
Well, I think music has been important to all cultures over the centuries and decades. You can't, and I think the presence of Africa in music has been from its beginning. So music hasn't just been important to our culture, it's been important to culture, period. It's been the song and the rhythm of life. Just imagine a world, irrespective of what culture you come from, with no music. That would be a pretty bland world. So music is always the rhythm, the voice of where we are. You know, it changes as cultures and community and people change. You know, we have a whole different crop of musicians and a sound of music today than what I grew up on.
There's been a number of different genres, of course, blues, jazz, rock and roll, gospel music is part of our culture. Is there one that you believe sticks out more than any other?
Music is married to itself. Music, there's no genre of music that's not married to the other. When you start looking at music in these United States, you have to look at the slave of America and what he and she brought to America, the song, the melody, the rhythm. And rock and roll is just another form of black music. Country is another form of black music. Gospel is another form of black music. Jazz is another form. R&B. All those things, you know, the birth of it starts with the soul of African culture.
So where are you today in dealing with music? Are you doing anything special?
Well, yeah, I continue to tour Club Nouveau, but I did an album called Soulful Bossa Nova, where I married bossa nova music, which is born out of Brazil. Jorge Gilberto, Carlos Jobim are the two guys they call the godfather of bossa nova music. And I love the form. And I've taken bossa nova, jazz, R&B, and soul music and kind of fused it together for my solo album, J. King, Soulful Bossa Nova. It's the first of a trilogy of bossa novas that I'm going to do. I continue to um, tour with Club Nouveau, manage Cameo, and do a radio show. And, you know, where I play a lot of music from the 60s all the way up to today. And yeah, so I'm always going to be involved in music.
So you say you do a radio show?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And how can my viewers tune into your radio show?
KDEEFM.org, or they can go to TuneIn and type in 97.5 KDEE in Sacramento. I'm on every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay.
I also do a radio show in LA, KBLA. You can download that app, 1580 KBLA. It's talk radio. I do that on Saturday and Sunday. It's a station owned by Tavis Smiley, the biggest talk radio show, 24-hour radio show owned by African American west of the Mississippi, the only one west of the Mississippi.
Okay. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk maybe about the effect of rap on our culture. This is Discussion with the Writer Fred. We'll be right back with Mr. J. King.
2021 is complete.
Go ahead.
Good or bad, you made it through.
And
The
we all-
year of many firsts. It will not be easily forgotten. The Black Book Yearbook will help you capsule the year that was 2021. Own your part of history. Get your yearbook today at blacksinsanantonio.com. For the latest news and community activities, visit our companion site, blackvideonews.com, celebrating over 10 years of documenting the community.
Staying on top of your blood pressure is as simple as these 4 easy steps. Self-monitoring is power.
Can I get the now bar, please?
$1.
Have a good one.
Got it.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey.
Let me get a now bar.
Sure.
$1.
Appreciate you.
Got it.
COVID-19 has changed how we express our faith and gather to worship.
We all want to get back to how we pray,
How we congregate, how we lift our voices in praise. Now it's time to take the first step that lets us get back to spreading the word without spreading concern.
before we can safely come together, we need the facts.
As COVID-19 vaccines become available, you may have questions.
Should I get it?
Is it safe?
Should I wait?
It's okay to have questions. Now get the facts. Learn more at getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when vaccines are available to you.
One in 3 adults has prediabetes. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Welcome back to Discussions with the Writer Fred, right here at Black Video News, and our special guest, Mr. J. King, out of Sacramento, California. Mr. King, can we continue our discussion? I'd like to know what you feel the impact of rap music has been on our culture over the last, I guess, 20, 25 years.
I mean, rap music has been the leader in music for probably the last decade and a half. It's number one music. You know, we're innovators. The messaging in rap music was interesting is people would say that the messaging is negative. What they won't say is the people that control the distribution of rap music promotes the idea of what we call negative rap. There are a lot of great rap songs that are out there that don't perpetuate a negative stereotype, but those aren't records and musics that industry professionals and industry leaders promote. So, you know, I used to say that hip hop and rap music was young people's version of the blues.
Mm-hmm.
Now I say it's a mirror of society. Our rap music sounds like our society look, not black, our society as a whole. Our society is getting very violent, very subjective, very stereotypical, just like the society that we live in. We live in a very fragmented world that is, you have a changing of the guards of sorts, where you have young people that don't necessarily function in terms of color. And you have a country that has controlled itself in terms of color. You know, you start looking at America, what you look at is the racisms and bigotries, biases and prejudices that have existed in this country. I've been here from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing new here.
Okay.
I think today young people, their actions and interactions and reactions is based on the pollution that America has always been into itself, and now she's seeing it enacted in society.
Do you think the music just reflects the society, or does the music actually create the actions in the society?
It's only a reaction to it. The scary part about the mirror is, you know, everybody want to look in it, and then when you don't look as good as you're supposed to look in the mirror, you want to say there's something wrong with the mirror. You know, we want to make this about music, but it's not. Music is only a reflection of what society is.
Well, I know I'm much older than some of the folks that are listening to rap. I grew up on, Aretha Franklin, the Temptations, the Four Tops, and they were singing more, I guess we call love songs. And we seem to have deviated from that to a degree. Do you
no, you have Lucky Day, who does love songs. You have Giveon, you have Snow Allegra, you have Anderson .Paak does some love stuff. You have her. Okay. There are a lot of artists that are out there. PJ Morton. There are a lot of artists out there. Then you have your older artists like Lenny Williams, still making records. Then you got local artists that are making wonderful music. We just live in a different kind of world. We live in a world that is based on the idea of negativity, and we've been and to be frank and honest, we've built so many different boxes for everybody, and we've drawn so many lines that now everyone is so sensitive and emotional, and everything is race conscious now. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't want to deal with the idea that we have a sick society. that we're in the middle of a mental health crisis. That Black folk are in the middle of a mental health crisis because of the past racism and bigotries that have been exacted upon us, and we won't even admit it. And then you have white America that in the middle of a mental health crisis because it's really lied to its offspring about how it's got its wealth. And now young white kids are starting to realize that, you know, some of this wealth is from ill-gotten means.
Yeah.
The very government that was supposed to protect us was the real criminal. And so, you know, and again, young people are, they don't like what they see as a passive approach of our generation. And they're just a lot more bolder. They're a lot more crass. And we probably think that because when I was coming up doing music, they probably said that I was crass and I was old, you know, this. So when you start getting old, when you start separating them versus us. Oh
yeah.
And you know, and music isn't that. I love music, so I listen to all styles and types of music. There's some young folk out here that have some great music, but I can promise you this: I don't care what generation. I can find you some good music, and I can find you some bad music, and I can find you some awful music. It's just that technology today has opened the door for anybody to have the opportunity to put music out and for any voice to be heard, and I dig that.
Okay, you mentioned the different variants on music compared to today and the past. Would you even attempt to put a value judgment on which one was best, or are they all?
The 1970s was the greatest years of music because if you look at all genres of music, whether it was soft rock, whether it was jazz, gospel, R&B, when you start looking at what music was, you know, 1976 to me is probably the greatest year in music. 1976 is the year that Stevie Wonder does Songs in the Key of Life. That's the year Earth, Wind & Fire does Spirit. That's the year Marvin Gaye does I Want You. That's the year that Frampton Comes Alive. That's the year that the Dewey Brothers do Oh Blackwater, Keep on Rolling. I mean, when you start looking at 1976 across the board, I mean, the greatest year in music. But like you, I grew up in the 60s, 70s, 80s music. But I also grew up on hip hop and, you know, Run DMC, Houdini, and Grandmaster Flash, and, you know, and all of the 80s stuff, the Sugar Hill Gang, all that stuff. I grew up, you know, on music. And so, and that's the beautiful thing, you know, but I also listen to Garland Green, and I also listen to Ramsey Lewis. And I also listen to, so, you know, I just think that today, if there's anything that I think these kids have to learn how to do, if they really want to be in music, is you have to listen to music outside your genre. I remember when I first played the trumpet, and I used to play all of the funk songs of the day when the horn was the thing. And one day my mom told me I wasn't a musician. I said, I am a musician. And she started asking me what music I knew. And I said, I know function, I know brass construction, I know Earth, Wind & Fire. And she said, do you know Bread? What about Seals and Crofts? What about Joni Mitchell? And I had never heard that music before. She said, you're not a musician until you can talk about music in a full plate. If you can't talk about music in different genres, if you don't know the history of music, you're not a musician. And that's really what got me on the path to making sure that if I was going to call myself a musician, that I understood where music came from, what it was, the beginnings of it, and the history behind it.
Okay, we're going to take another break, our last one, Mr. King. But when we come back, I'd like for you to talk about the importance of music to the civil rights movement.
Got it.
We'll be right back with discussions with the writer Fred with Mr. J. King.
Veterans, when you're struggling, soon becomes later, becomes someday, becomes when. Don't wait. Reach out.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Hello, this is Cornell with Frost Bank.
Hi there, this is Terry with Frost.
Good evening, this is Franklin.
This is Robert with Frost.
Hello, this is Rosemary with Frost Bank.
Nothing to do this week? Don't miss another event. Go to blacksinsanantonio.com for our event calendar. The home of the largest business directory in San Antonio with an African American focus. Sign up today for our weekly e-blast and text message alerts. Help us make this a better community. Connect, empower, grow.
Welcome back to Discussion with the Writer Fred, and we're pleased to have as our guest today during Black Music Month, Mr. J. King. Mr. King, there's a friend of yours off to my right here, Chris Dawkins, and he's saying hey to you, okay?
No, Chris, yeah. I said hello.
Okay, will do. And he's the one that asked me to, can you elaborate on having to sell records out of the trunk of your car?
Well, you know, when I first started, I really didn't understand the music business. I just knew I wanted to make records. And so when I first pressed up my 12-inch, I thought I could just put them in stores. But that's not how the music business worked. You had to have a distributor, and then the distributor would put the records in stores. Well, so my first records that I sold were out of the trunk of my car. And people laughed at me and made jokes about me, but I started selling records in clubs. I'd make friends with the DJ or the club owner, and they would allow me to sell my 12 inches in the clubs. And eventually I figured out a system. If I had a girl with me, I sold more records than if I didn't. I started making sure that I had women with me when I sold records, and then when I got other people to sell records for me, it would be a guy and a girl. And that's how I first started selling 12 inches, and that's how Rumors got started.
And look at where you are now. So perseverance pays off, doesn't it? Yes.
And you know, just to let you know, I'm the president of the California Black Chamber.
Right.
So
yes.
the state chamber, I'm the president for the state of California. Mm-hmm. And music really has helped me in a lot of different ways to climb into different circles and to be impactful economically for the African American community here in California, okay, and throughout the country.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. Yeah, definitely. So let me get to the question I wanted to ask you about the importance of music during the civil rights movement.
Well, what made music important to the civil rights movement was that it was a rallying cry, and it put our stories on record.
Yes.
And it made our voices heard, and it really galvanized people and pulled communities together. And you know, all white people didn't agree with the bigotries and racisms, the prejudices and biases that existed against us, that were exacted by our own government. The government that was supposed to protect us was the government that was exacting these crimes against us. And music helped to galvanize humanity and get them to stand up for us. And that's where, you know, Aretha Franklin, James Brown, Curtis Mayfield,
yes,
the Chamber Brothers, Marvin Gaye, they Donny Hathaway. They all made rallying cries. Even Earth, Wind, and Fire, to talk about the heinous acts that were committed against us.
Yeah. I like your statement, galvanize humanity. I think that's what music really does for us. Yeah. So before we end, can you tell us about Club Nouveau?
Well, you know, Club Nouveau is an interesting group because Club Nouveau wasn't a group because I wanted to be in a band. I was a songwriter and a producer. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be behind the scene. But when Timex Social Club signed a deal with someone else, I had to take the music and do something with it. So I put the group together. Denzel Foster and Thomas McElroy were my writing and producing partners. Valerie is like my little sister, and we grew up together. Samuel was a friend of Denny's, and we just pulled it together and to put out Jealousy, which became our first top 10 hit record, and then Situation Number 9, which went to number 4, Lean on Me, which went to number 2, and then number 1 on the pop charts, and then Why You Treat Me So Bad, which went to number 2. Those were, and then Heavy on My Mind, and You Ain't No Friend of Mine, and other songs after that. But, you know, it took me a minute to learn how to be in a group because it's not what I wanted to do, it's what I was going to do.
Okay, Mr. King, before we wrap up, what wise words would you share with my viewers?
Get busy living, because you will have enough time dying. If you live to be 80, you're only living 29,200 days. Mm-hmm. If you take away 8 hours a day for sleeping and 8 hours a day for working, you only have 9,733 days for living. Wow. Don't waste them.
Don't waste them. Thank you, Mr. King, for being a guest on Discussions with the Writer Fred. We do appreciate your wise knowledge about music and your closing comments.
Thank you, sir.
Discussion with the Writer Fred, telling our story our way once again.